Hi everybody. Hey, Game Infinity Watch here again, back with another video, finally. I know it's been a little bit of time. A lot of things been going on, work's been busy, I gotta deal with work, gotta deal with family. I even took a lot of time out because I had to replace my backdrop here. I got rid of the bookcases that I had, because I wanted to upgrade the cases to something nicer and more kind of organized and neat looking. So I got the IKEA Calyx shelves. These things are really cool. They hold a lot of stuff. And I was able to get my statues, some statues I might put up. These are some of my sideshow collections, which is great because these statues have been sitting in my garage for about the last year, bought this house about a year ago, and never took them out. So I really always kind of felt neglected, or that I've neglected them. They're being in the garage for so long. So now they're on display. They get to breathe. People get to see them. I love them. The shelf is great. I'm really in love with that shelf. Not as big as I thought it was. It's not holding all my stuff. Let's see if I can pan over this way a little bit. I still have a lot of hardcovers, omnibus, absolutes, and stuff like that that don't quite have a home. They're just chilling out on the table there. So until I get the time to get another shelf, put the shelf together, I'm going to have to rearrange the room for the most part to fit the shelf over there. I get rid of that table. So until then, they're going to just chill out over there on the table, and I'll read them as I need to. But with that said and done, let's go ahead and get back into this video. This is going to be about my September pickups, all the books and stuff like that I picked up in September, as well as something else that I'm going to put that. Something kind of tragic happened the other day, and I wanted to speak on that, so it's going to be part of the video as well. So let's get started. You want to check out what I got in September? Of course you do. That's why you're looking at this video. So let's see. The first items, it's a double item kind of thing that I got, is the Ultimates Volume 1 and Volume 2 oversized hardcovers. I was really super pumped to get these books in the mail. I've been looking, I know there's an omnibus that collects the entire series in one big fat omnibus book, but it's going for crazy money, more than I'm willing to pick up for something like that. Plus, it has glued binding, which isn't the best. I don't really care a lot of times, but for something like that, glued binding kind of isn't very make or break kind of deal for me, but it definitely makes me second guess getting an absolute. So with these, collects the entire original Ultimates run of Volume 1, Volume 2, Ultimates 1, Ultimates 2, I think they called it. This is a series written by Mark Millar, drawn by Brian Hitch, that came out early 2000s and practically really changed comics into what we have today, to be honest. The widescreen kind of cinematic look of comics really started from here. This is something that they brought to the industry with this series, and it stuck around. So you can thank them for what you have today when it comes down to the comic book storytelling and look of current books. I love the series. I picked up the series in singles as it was coming out on shelves and off the racks, but I'm glad to have it in a collected edition. Collected editions is just easier to read for me. And I was so pumped that when I got this, I immediately opened up Volume 1 and read that. Usually that doesn't happen. Usually when I buy books, don't tell my wife, I spend the money for the books and they just sit here until I get around to them. But I wanted to revisit this storyline so much that I picked up Volume 1, cracked it open, I took it to work with me, and I read it. Volume 1 is still really good. I love the storyline. I love the art in it. Little bits and pieces of it are kind of outdated. There's a lot of jokes and appearances by celebrities that were really big and popular in the early 2000s, like Freddie Prinze Jr. and Shannon Elizabeth, who kind of disappeared and is kind of irrelevant these days. So those kind of things kind of date the series a little bit. And if you run around in those times, or cared, and you read it now, it's gonna be like, who's Freddie Prinze Jr. and why is he dating Betty and stuff like that. It's weird. But either way, great series. Really excited to pick that up. I can't wait to read volume 2. Next up, Midtown Comics had this outrageous sale on hardcovers, collected editions, and just everything in general on their website. So I went a little overboard, but I'm okay with that because it's all super cheap. So for the price of like one omnibus, I got a bunch of really cool stuff that I'll show you guys. But first off is Deadly Class from Image Comics. This is a super oversized, this is like omnibus, no, I'm sorry, absolute kind of dimensions minus a slipcase. But that's how big it is. Deadly Class is written by Rick Remender, drawn by Wes Craig, and it's a pretty screwed up book. I haven't read a lot of it yet. I have some of the singles. This is still open, or I haven't opened it yet. But it's a kind of a messed up book, and a lot of the messed up stuff in this series came from Rick Remender's kind of unfortunate past as a teenager, early teens, early 20s. Time frame for him. So I don't know if this is a therapeutic thing for him or it's just, hey, just write what you know. But a lot of the kind of crazy, weird stuff that happened in here comes from Rick Remender's already kind of messed up kind of history. This collects 1 through 16 of Deadly Class. That's pretty much up to date where they are now. So it's a really good time to pick this up and pretty much get the whole current series. But I love just the look of the book. The bright pink really kind of, makes it pop and stuff. So it's really good. Can't wait to crack this open and finish reading where I left off. Next up, I got Battling Boy Volume 2. This is The Rise of Aurora West. This is a Paul Pope book. Paul Pope is kind of like a godfather of comics, especially kind of indie comics, underground comics, stuff like that. This is basically a series about, it's almost like another Captain Marvel kind of idea. And by Captain Marvel, I mean the Shazam Captain Marvel, where it's a little boy who turns into a larger superpowered being kind of thing. So, but Paul, I picked this up because I had the first volume. Here's a picture of the first volume. But the first volume I have is like a bigger and hardcover. But this is almost like a manga-sized book, so I don't know why they scaled it down to a different, completely different format and size. But either way, even with the smaller size, Paul Pope's artwork is still absolutely gorgeous and amazing. He is a very technical artist. He has a lot of skill. It's like skill. He's an experienced artist. He's been around for a long, long time. He's done things like Batman Year 100. Heavy Liquid, 100%, stuff like that. He does a lot of really great books. A lot of blacks, a lot of, like, the pages are kind of just dripping with ink. I love his art style. So check that out. Next up, Omega Men. I never read this before. The Omnibus Collectors group on Facebook. Everybody on there when this book came out was just over nuts and going crazy about how amazing it is, and every other post was about people picking it up, and when they got a picture of themselves like that they got it and stuff like that. It's written by Tom King, who you may know now as the writer in the current Batman series, or maybe the writer of his his image book called Sheriff of Babylon. When he was writing this, he was basically a nobody, and this book got canceled before. But there was so much fan love and outbursts that they were able to bring the book back. So it's a Kyle Rayner story. That's basically all I know and basically all I really care about, because Kyle Rayner was my Green Lantern when I started reading comics. So I love that character. I hear a lot of messed up things kind of happen in this book, but I'm really excited to read it. This collects the entire Omega Men series, which is 1 through, I don't see it on here, I think it's 1 through 18. I might be completely off track with that, but thank you, DC, for not putting it on the outside cover of the book like there usually are. This is probably a really great video of me reading the credits and trying to find it. 1 through 12. 1 through 12. There we go. So it's the entire series. That's all there was, folks. Everything is right here. Excited to pick this up. I want to read it as soon as I can. Next up, X-Men Trial of Gambit. I love this image of Gambit. It's a Joe Mad image. Joe Madureira is one of my favorite comic book artists of all time. And I loved his work on X-Men. So this is a series that collects Uncanny X-Men 341 through 350. Ugh. And -1. That was back when Marvel did these -1 origin kind of issues. And X-Men 62 through 64 and the -1. So the basic premise, without trying to give away too many spoilers, Gambit was not always, but he's always been kind of shady dude. Nobody kind of knew what was going on. He's a thief, pretty boy, stuff like that. When Bishop came around, Bishop kept proclaiming that Gambit was the traitor of the X-Men. He's the one that was going to bring the X-Men down. But of course, if you know the X-Men history, you know how that kind of pans out. And this also shows Gambit's connection to another major X-Men event. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but this is great. It's a lot of Joe Mad art in here. Like I said, who's one of my favorite artists. It's 90s comics. Ooh, scary 90s. Ew, girls. I love 90s comics. Go away. His art is great. You also have some Chris Baccello art in here as well. Carlos Pacheco art, which is really great. Can never go wrong with his stuff. It has one of my favorite X-Men, who's only lasted a while, but Maggot. I love Maggot. Maggot was so cool. His stomach was made out of worms. But he was a cool character. Didn't last very long. Too bad. I like him. So, X-Men Trial of Gambit. Now, this next one here is a biggie. This one I spent a little bit of money on. Don't tell my wife. But this is a whale. This is a book that I've been kind of chasing for a little bit. I was able to find it at cover price. Daredevil Volume 2, Bendis' Daredevil run. I have Volume 1 back here on my shelf that I found at a local record store for dirt cheap. We have a local used record store here that has comics, and I found Volume 1, which is a huge book. Try finding that one for cheap. But I got that, so I had to pick up Volume 2. I love this Daredevil run. It's Bendis, this is Alex Maleev, and a little bit of David Mack in here as well. We know they didn't give David Mack any credits, but David Mack does have an arc in here, which is fantastic. I love David Mack's art. I own a piece of David Mack Daredevil art, to be honest. Not from this book, but from earlier. So I love David Mack. His book is great. His art's great, I should say. Got this. This collects Daredevil 61 through 81. What if Karen Page had lived, and Ultimate Marvel Team Up 6 through 8. I don't know what the Ultimate Marvel Team Up has to do with the 616 Daredevil, but Bendis' Daredevil is a pinnacle point of the character. Outside of maybe Frank Miller, I think Bendis' Daredevil work is top notch next to him. So I love the series. This is a great get for this omnibus. And I'm going to throw it back on my shelf. And I'm going to read all that thing in probably one big old shot. I'm going to read the whole series. I have it all, the whole series in omnibus form. After this starts the Ed Brubaker series, which those are out of print, but there's 2 omnibus, so they're both being reprinted. They're out there now in previews, or they've been solicited. You can pre-order the first one off of DCBS, local comic book store, whatever, but the first Brubaker omnibus is being reprinted. That's orderable now. The second one just got solicited, so I'm going to get both of those, so I have a complete Daredevil run of this series. Now, so that's the books I got this in September. I'll do a video later about what I got in October. Nothing much, but my birthday's coming up, so hopefully I can get some good scores or something like that. But as I said, there was a little bit of a tragic event that happened in the comic industry just recently. It was recently announced that Steve Dillon has died. There's been no information that I've seen of what it was that he died from, or any circumstances like that. It really doesn't matter. All that really matters is he's no longer with us. Steve Dillon has done such great works like Punisher, Welcome Back Frank. Love this series of Welcome Back Frank. This is the Punisher Max series with Garth Ennis. This is the oversized hardcover I have for it. There's an issue in here with Daredevil. It's kind of been Daredevil-centric video a little bit. But this is really great Daredevil issue where Punisher just completely messes with Daredevil's ideology and his ideas behind justice and the law and things like that. If you saw the recent season 2 of Daredevil that had Punisher in it, there's a rooftop scene with Daredevil and Punisher that they took right out of this book and right out of Steve Dillon's amazing artwork. So he's the artist of Punisher. He's also best known for as well, this is a popular series for Preacher. He's the artist on the Preacher series, which has been a really successful TV show on AMC. But here's the absolute I got for that, which is great artwork. Too bad the cover, I don't have it open yet. The cover is all Glenn Fabry's beautiful paintings, but the inside interior art is all Steve Dillon. And that was the book that kind of made Steve Dillon who he was today, made him popular. But again, like I said, unfortunately, he is no longer with us. He has passed. It's really sad when an artist passed. I mean, it's sad when anybody kind of passed. When it comes down to an artist who has such prolific work and was very influential in the art medium in general, not just comics, but just art. Not only do we lose the person himself, but we lose any future art he would have created for us. So those are kind of the things that I think about when we lose an amazing artist like that. Same with we recently lost Darwin Cook as well. So just a nice little remembrance for Steve Dillon. Rest in peace, sir. Thank you for all the artwork. But I'll cut this short. This is pretty much going to be it for this video. Let me straighten that back up. That was kind of weird. But so those are my hauls. What did you guys think about those books? What do you guys think about Steve Dillon? How was your reaction when you heard for the first time that he died? Let me know in the comments. Share this video, show it to everybody. I appreciate all the comments, all the likes, all the views, all my subscribers. So definitely thank you for watching this video. Gabe Infinity Watch is checking out. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for viewing. We'll see everybody next time. Have a good day.